Okay, so I know I said I was gonna take a break from readathons, but Halloween season is just one of my favorite times of year, and it just snuck up on me this year. So I literally decided the very last minute, actually the last night of September, to participate in readathons this month. And I say readathons, I've only completed one readathon, which I'm talking about in this video, and we are on the second day of spookathon. I just don't know how much of this readathon I'm going to participate in because of life stuff. But in terms of Hocus Pocus readathon, this readathon ended up being really successful. It's been ages since I've even gotten close to completing all the prompts for a readathon, but the Hocus Pocus readathon took place during October 1st through October 13th. I think that this length of time was a really good length of time. It was 2 weeks and there was only 6 prompts to complete, plus 1 movie prompt. Participants were broken up into 3 groups. I was on the Sanderson Sisters team. I don't know what the other teams were. You can check out the video if you want to know, but since it is past the time anyways, it's not exactly relevant anyways. But I was on the Sanderson Sisters team. Each prompt that you completed would award you points to go towards your team. And I actually haven't even looked into what the end scores were. I don't really care that much. I just wanted to read for fun and do sprints with people, and that was fun. But here's what I ended up reading. I also have a couple more books at the end I will talk about. They didn't really fit any of the prompts, but that's okay too. I just wanted to share what I was reading. So the first prompt was Potions, Spells, and Enchantments. Read a book with a witchy main character. For this, I read Ruined by Paula Morris, and this book was really good. It was really fun. It is a younger, like YA. Our main character is 15 years old. Is she 15? Oh, I remember what happened. Okay. So our main character is like 15 years old. She's originally from New York. She lives there with her dad. She doesn't have a lot of family, but she winds up having to go to New Orleans to stay with a family friend. She knows her as her aunt and she calls her her aunt, even though they're not really blood related, but she's the closest thing to family that she has. Her father has to go to work in China, and so she has to go to New Orleans and live there for about 6 months to a year. She has to make a life for herself for the year, for the time being that she's there. You know, needs to have friends and she needs to go to school. She gets enrolled into an all-girls prep school and she has to wear this hideous uniform, which she hates. Her aunt has a daughter, a younger daughter. What is her name? Oh, Aurelia. Aurelia is her little cousin, just a little bit younger. She also goes to that school. They don't actually have a whole lot of interactions because Aurelia's kind of on her own, doing her own thing most of the time. So our main character, Rebecca, is pretty much on her own. She can't seem to make friends with any of the girls at school. They all pretty much ignore her. There's a group of kids who basically come from old money, and pretty much everyone else is the Debs, or debutantes. And then but she was forewarned that because she's not one of them, they will not be friends with her. They may potentially be mean to her, which I didn't find was actually a big thing. I thought that we were gonna have a huge face-off between the main character and like the token bitch character, but we don't, so that's okay. She mostly just ignores her because yeah. But this group of kids also have any consequences to the rules. They can basically get away with murder, do whatever they want, including breaking into the cemetery, which our main character can see from her bedroom window. One of their families has the key to the cemetery, and they go in there and hang out. So she follows them in there one night and gets spooked. She doesn't want to get caught, and so she gets lost in the cemetery. And if you don't know, in New Orleans, the water level is higher, and so they can't dig graves deep enough into the earth, so they build these beautiful mausoleums to put dead people. There's nothing cooler and creepier and more atmospheric than a New Orleans style cemetery. Most of the scenes take place in this cemetery, and here is where she gets lost, and a girl ends up helping her and pointing her into the right direction before one of these kids spots her. Yeah, so this girl helps her, and it ends up that this girl is a ghost. So she makes friends with the ghost while everyone else ignores her. She also quickly learns about a curse that is on the Bowman family, the Bowman house. I guess there's a lot of different stories regarding this 300-year-old curse. No, I'm getting Hocus Pocus and this one mixed up. 150-Year-Old Curse. I think my favorite thing about this book is the fact that it's so culturally rich. There's so much history and so much culture, which was very surprising for me for a YA. So because it is a YA, there is definitely still some certain things that you find in YA, such as the love interest. I wouldn't say that it was bad or unnecessary. It was just really boring and unpredictable. But the best thing about this book is all the history. I personally just have a huge affinity for New Orleans, French Quarter, all of the history and the culture of the people. They go into a little bit of how the Haitians came and settled in New Orleans. When the Haitians came there, they also brought their belief in hoodoo and voodoo. That's only talked about just a hair, but it's in there and it's really good. It adds some depth to it. This actually takes place after Katrina. They're still talking about what happened to the city. Also, it was just a lot of fun going through this mystery of this curse and figuring out, because everyone kind of has a little bit of a different story. Everyone's kind of holding on to bits of information that they don't want to share for one reason or another. And then our main character, Rebecca, is tied up into all of this, and we don't find out until the end what her role is in it. Needless to say, there's a lot of deception in here. So it's just a really fun book. I can't wait to read the next book. I have it on ebook. I am anticipating kind of reading it coming up soon. Now, something else that's really cool about the class system in this book are the Debs, which is basically short for debutantes. So the rich families put on parades, balls, and other events. There's this one parade that takes place, I think it's during Mardi Gras. This main parade that they put on is to showcase the new debutantes. And so just the whole talk about all of that was just very, very interesting to me. I personally thought it was something of the past, but apparently it is still very much relevant today. But I would actually really like some more books on that topic that talk about debutante balls and things like that. The next prompt is, the Sanderson Sisters have risen. Read a book with a female protagonist. The book I chose for this one wasn't really a spooky book. I had just been reading it the month before and I wanted to finish it. The book I chose for this one was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the novella that goes along with the Court of Thorns and Roses series. I finished the series last month, so I just really wanted to finish this book, and so I could squeeze it in for the prompts. That was excellent. A lot of people did not like this. I read some other discussion on it, and I guess a lot of people didn't realize that it was just a novella. Or maybe they did and they just didn't like it, because honestly, like, I do kind of get it. Like, it's really not the greatest novella. I get really invested in series and I really love reading the extra content because I like to know more about characters that I really fall in love with. Overall, just felt like it was unnecessary, which is pretty much everyone's feelings on it. I mean, you can't completely say it was completely unnecessary. So this novella has multiple perspectives. You have Rhysand, Feyre, Cassian, and the Morrigan, and then there's one, like, it's not even a chapter, it's like within Cassian's perspective, there's a little tidbit about what from Nesta's perspective. Honestly, I only liked Feyre's chapters. This novella takes place over the winter solstice. Feyre's trying to put together their winter solstice, kind of healing from the war and everything. She's trying to get her sisters together and help them heal. And then on the other side, primarily Cassian, the Morrigan, and Rhysand. All three of their perspectives are more centered on the political, how they're dealing with the politics and the aftermath of the war. So I really only like Feyre's chapters. The other perspectives really blended together. Not only were their stories all kind of the same, their voices just weren't distinct enough to stand out from Feyre's. So they all just kind of blended together for me, and I would have to go back and figure out, wait, this isn't making sense. I'd kind of have to go back and see whose perspective I was reading from. Also, we see Nesta, and she's just on this terrible path of self-destruction, which I guess is justified. However, some of her actions are really upsetting. I want to talk about it so bad. I also don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it. So I'm kind of like torn. It's so infuriating. At the same time, it's very Nesta to act kind of like that and just kind of like retreat and shun everybody. And I feel like she's fighting against this whole deal with Cassian. Doesn't make it any less almost disturbing in a way, but war can do that to people. I really started to like Nesta at the end, and there was, yeah, and then there's like some fan art as well that kind of implies this whole Nesta and Cassian thing. I'm so pissed off right now that I really don't think that Nesta deserves a man like Cassian. But then again, I know like she's such a complicated character. When she's good, she's really good. And when she's bad, she's really bad. I don't know whether to love her or to hate her. And I just think that it's just too gray area, and I think that's why I love her character so much. But I'm so pissed off at her right now. I guess there are going to be some more books to come, which is so exciting. At the end of this novella, it's such a mouthful, A Court of Frost and Starlight. At the end of this, there is an excerpt for the next book, which makes me even more mad at Nesta because she still hasn't gotten over whatever shit is going on. She's just waiting for someone to like tell her enough's enough. Otherwise, she's not going to do it on her own, which is so infuriating. Like, I don't like that mentality of people, but it definitely opens up for a very exciting new book. The next prompt is spellbind, blah, blah, blah. Tongue twisters here. The magic book is calling you. Read a book that is spellbindingly atmospheric. For this, I chose Asylum by Madeline Rue. This book was overall really fun read. It definitely gets you in that very spooky mood. It's definitely very atmospheric. It's just beautiful. Like, I have to show that like every chapter has a page like this to start the new chapter. There's like pictures. This is the dorms, which I will explain in just a second when I give the synopsis. And here's one of the first pieces of evidence that we find. I say evidence, but like one of the first pieces that we find of that starts the story going on. But like I said, this book was overall really fun, definitely very atmospheric, definitely got you into the Halloween spooky mood. So the premise of the story is a group of kids in the middle of junior year and senior year of high school go off to a college preparatory program in New Hampshire for the summer. I think about 6 to 8 weeks during the summer. They're kind of from all over the country. So while they're there, they stay in some dorm rooms, which happen to be in an old building that used to be an asylum, which housed nothing but murderers. In the basement of this asylum, which has basically been untouched, I guess when they renovated it to be dorms, they left the basement how it was. In the basement, the warden, who I guess is also some mad scientist because he experiments on the patients trying to fix them. The basement is locked and they're forbidden from going down there. Of course, they can't help themselves. They go down there. The door was left unlocked consequently somehow, so they could just waltz right in and spend the night down there investigating and finding creepy things. So that was really cool. I always loved those scenes when they would go down in the basement. It was really fun trying to figure out what they were going to do with this story, if it was going to be like a ghost story or like a copycat scenario. However, as much fun as I did have with this, I did only give it 3 stars. There's some problems with this book. The characters were really not that great. I didn't care about the characters so much. Our main character, Dan, gave me creepy vibes from the beginning. Then we have Abby. This group of 3 kids kind of instantly become friends. There's Dan, our main character, Abby, the love interest, and then what is his name? Jordan. His name is Jordan, and he's like the gay friend. And the reason I say it that way is because from the get-go, Dan kind of sets his sights on Abby from the moment they meet, which was kind of annoying. She introduces Dan to Jordan, who she met on the bus. They kind of started talking and becoming friends. So the second Jordan waltzes up, he's kind of got this funny attitude. He's just kind of messing with Dan, and Dan's like, what? A guy? And like kind of already laying claim to Abby and jealous over Dan. And so he takes the first opportunity he can to assert himself. And Dan's like, dude, I'm gay. Like, you don't gotta worry about me, go for it. And like all of this happened so quickly that I was just like, good God, is it gonna be one of those books? But thankfully that does kind of go away. Dan very much is like trying to get with Abby and go on a date with her and like trying to figure out if he's good enough to even ask her because she's like gorgeous and like out of his league. So we got this all going on as the story's progressing. It just felt very unnecessary. They didn't even need to have a love story. Why couldn't they just be friends? At the end of their 6 weeks, I guess they only have 6 weeks to, you know, find the love interest and make something happen. So they had to rush it. But like, it shouldn't have even happened, because at the end of this program, they're all gonna go their separate ways, and they don't even know if they're going to that college at the end of that. You expect certain things when you read YA. So I can kind of look past that, I guess. But I would say the biggest problem I had with this was the foreshadowing really got in the way, and then Dan has a lot of like internal monologue, which really kind of spoils the big reveals. Basically, there's just a missed opportunity to have some really shocking reveals when there's so much foreshadowing and so much like inner monologue going on behind. It could have also been on purpose because they didn't want to make it too scary for the audience, for the intended audience as well. I don't know. The next prompt is The Burning Rain of Death. Read a book that frightens you. This one I chose an audiobook. I chose Goosebumps, Night of the Living Dummy. Dummies freak me out. Funny story, I had like this doll, Night of the Living Dummy, and also Chucky. I watched that when I was way too young, and I should not have watched that in 3rd grade. But I did watch it, and it gave me nightmares for ages, and I was afraid of dolls and dummies and anything of the sort. My doll was not allowed to sleep in the room with me. So, you know, like doll eyes, they were the eyes that open when they sit up. She lost the pupils of the eyes after like a year or 2 of having her. The pupils of the eyes fell out, and so when she opened her eyes, they were just white. And it was so freaky. Look around in my dark room and like see her sitting in the corner with these white eyes. And so she was not allowed to sleep in my room. The next prompt is Master Satan is pleased with you. Read a book with a powerful villain. For this one, I read Nimona. This one is a library book. This book is so cute. It is so good. I love it. It's gonna be on my top list of favorite graphic novels from now on. But we have Nimona, and she wants to be a super villain. So she just shows up in Ballister Blackheart's home where he concocts his evil schemes. She just says, hey, I'm a shapeshifter, you need me, I'm gonna be like your sidekick, and everyone needs a sidekick. That's what everyone's doing these days. So she goes to become a super villain with him, but she's a better villain than he is, because he like has certain rules that he follows. Like, he doesn't murder, he just causes chaos. And it's super funny, and she like shapeshifts into all of these different forms. One of them, which always makes me crack up, is a shark. I don't know if they're going to do more stories about her, but I really hope that they do. I don't think I could get enough. The next prompt is work together with your team to take down those horrible children and become immortal. Read the group book. The group book was Hocus Pocus, the all-new sequel. This one, I did try to read the whole thing. I did start out the book. Yeah, so the first half of the book is basically the movie retold. I didn't actually read the first half of the book because I've just heard everyone say that it's basically just the movie retold. So I did go ahead and skip to the second half, and I thought it was really cute that the witches come back, but in a whole different new way, and it was really cute. I really liked how they redid it. I don't have super strong feelings about it, but I thought it was cute regardless. And the last thing was celebrate victory by watching Hocus Pocus. I actually read this the second day of the readathon, and I watched it 2 other times because I watched it when my kids were at school, and then my youngest son Aaron wanted to watch it, and he's been grounded, so he hasn't been allowed to do. He's been watching a lot of movies with me over the weekend and stuff, so he watched it like 2 more times. I got that one covered. In addition to that, I've also read a couple other books I wanted to mention. I just started this graphic novel that I picked up at the library called The Girl Who Owned a City. It's very, I get very big like Maze Runner vibes from this because all the adults have died. There's been like this virus outbreak. These kids are basically running the city. There's like a gang of kids who steal other people's goods. She decides they have to be smart and they just can't keep waiting for supplies, can't just steal from people because that's wrong and it's not sustainable. She decides that she's going to get a group of people together who want the same thing as her and want safety and want to make sure that they're not going to starve. So she wants to get a group of people together and like start a city, like so that they can have a life. I'm not too far in it. I'm not even like halfway through it right now, but so far I'm loving it so much. Also, one of the characters asks a really important question. If this virus is something that attacks adults beyond a certain age, then when they grow up and age and mature, like, will it attack them as well? So very interesting. I cannot wait to find out what happens. The last book to talk about is Summer Days and Summer Nights. It is a short story collection. There's a lot. There are 12 different love stories. As you can imagine, it's about summer, but it's my first short story collection I've ever read, and it has been such a fantastic journey. Each story takes place kind of during the summer and as the summer is coming to a close, which kind of creates this like sadness, this like sad tone to every story. Each story kind of has this like spooky element to it. There are supernatural elements to most of the stories. There are some tough topics that are discussed. Each story has kind of like a love story going on. The first story is by Leigh Bardugo. I think this was like a brand new, it's like a new favorite. I love it so, so much. Some of the other stories, actually, let me pull it up. I don't know, like, since they're short stories, you can't really talk about them too much without giving too much away. There's The End of Love. That one was good. Last Stand by Sinagore. This one's like about a haunted movie theater. That was really good. Each of the settings is very like summery place, and then there's like something supernatural going on, which makes it feel kind of like fall and spooky and Halloween. That's kind of like the tone of most of the stories. One of them's at like summer camp. One of them's at a haunted circus. The one I'm reading, the one I just finished, is like about a circus that in order to have the magic of the circus, to keep the circus going, they have to have a demon. And then there's like these rivals circuses. There's like a rival circus and like this scandal going on within that, and it's like every single one of these stories is like so good. I love it. And this, like I said, this is my first experience with a short story collection, and I've just had like such a blast with it. I can't wait to read more short story collections. I have quite a few on my ebook, my iBooks reader, and two of the ones I really want to get to next are Toil and Trouble and Teeth. It's like a bunch of different vampire tales. Okay, so there are these bingo boards Hardback Hoarder put together, and she made some blank ones. So I took one of her blank ones, and I basically took her same theme. I'll put it up here, but I'm reading it off of my phone right now. The green ones are from the Hocus Pocus Readathon. The purple ones are for Spookathon. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to participate in that. Found out that we are expecting some guests for about a week. So the week of Spookathon, we will be having guests stay with us. We're really excited to have them. This is going to be like their vacation. And so plus we have stuff going on like with the kids and all that stuff. So I don't know how much we are going to be hanging out with them or not. I did go ahead and put the prompts on here anyways. I'm going to try. I have 2 books picked out, potentially 3. Anyways, Spookathon is in purple, and then the ones just to kind of fill in the board in white are from me. I believe you can double up on these. I don't know. I think the goal is only just to at least get 1 line. So obviously I can check off all the green ones since I completed all of those. And then I can cross off short story collection. Currently reading, I did get that one. A retelling, I can get that one too. So I can get the top row. Yay! I can get Graveyard, Monster, and ebook, and I can get the one going down. So I've got 2 lines on this so far. So that's exciting. And then she also put together a movie bingo board, which I will put up here. I've watched Hocus Pocus, Beetlejuice so far, watched Addams Family. I thought I had The Craft. Apparently I don't have The Craft. The month is not over yet. Anyways, so that wraps up my Hocus Pocus Readathon wrap-up. Wraps up my wrap-up. Wrap up my wrap-up. Also, by the way, I'm sure you've noticed it right now, but this is my spooky shelf. I did a little bit of decorating. My son and I actually painted these bottles. So we took just acrylic paint and painted them, and then I just haven't printed out. My printer sucks, so I haven't printed out labels for them yet. Thanks for watching. Bye.